Here's a fun headline you probably missed. Small U.S. town offers free land because literally nobody showed up. Yeah, that's the world we're living in. America's full of places where the population graph looks like a ski slope, straight down. And these towns have a problem. Empty schools, empty streets, empty chairs at city council meetings, but surprisingly, not empty land. So today, we're diving into 10 towns actually giving away property. And what nobody tells you is, some of these deals are weirdly good. One town even expects you to build fast, but then something unexpected happens. Why do they do this? And why does nobody talk about that one city? Stick around, you'll learn things Zillow doesn't want to explain. Like the video to confuse the algorithm. Subscribe if you make questionable life decisions. Let's break it down. Number 10. Plainville, Kansas. The kind of town where the horizon shows up early and nothing blocks its view. Reputation? Quiet, simple. Bring your own excitement. But then you look closer and realize Plainville's lifestyle has a weird appeal. Steady pace, low noise, and neighbors who wave so aggressively you start questioning your arm stamina. Real data? Population. Approximately 1,800. Tiny, but not ghost town tiny. Crime. 50% below the US average. You're more likely to be attacked by boredom than danger. Housing costs. Approximately 35% below national average. Rent that doesn't require emotional support. Median home price. Around $110,000 to $130,000, depending on how optimistic Zillow feels that day. It's quiet until it isn't. What nobody tells you is Plainville fights a very real 21st century problem: population stagnation. Not decline, stagnation. As in, the town is politely waiting for new residents the way a cat waits for someone to refill the bowl. Jobs? Mostly healthcare, education, agriculture, and a smattering of small businesses. Wages are steady. Cost of living is cheap, but opportunities aren't exactly sprinting at you. And therefore, the free land program happened. Plainville offered building lots on the north side of town because the math was simple. More humans, stronger local economy, fewer tumbleweeds interviewing for city council. Surprisingly, it worked, just not explosively. Plainville's growth curve is the definition of Midwestern polite. Slow, quiet, consistent. Here's the emotional cost. Plainville is peaceful, almost too peaceful. It's the kind of quiet where you can hear your own thoughts arguing about whether you're a small town person or just overstimulated and tired. Financial consequences? Low taxes, low rent, low stress, but then low variety. If you want nightlife, congratulations. It's called the stars. And yet, the upside is real. Space, land, community. A feeling that life doesn't have to be a speed run. Why is it that every Kansas town has wind so strong it feels like you're getting slapped by the atmosphere? I swear, half the state is leaning slightly east just from trying to walk to the mailbox. And the weather? Cold, hot, tornado, wind, 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 apology sunrise, more wind. Pick a personality, Kansas, please. Plainville isn't trying to impress you. It's trying to hand you a plot of land and say, make something of this, kid. And honestly, that's kind of refreshing. And if you think Plainville is calm, wait until you see what the next town tried to give away just to get a few neighbors. Number 9. Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville is one of those cities that feels like it was designed by an engineer who wanted better weather. A place where rockets get built, tech workers multiply, and half the population casually drops aerospace into small talk, like it's a personality trait. Reputation? Smart, busy, surprisingly affordable. The kind of city where your barista might hold a patent. Job growth, one of the strongest in the country, fueled by NASA, defense, biotech. Unemployment, consistently below national average. Median rent, around $1,200 to $1,300, depending on which side of town pretends it's fancier. Cost of living, approximately 7 to 10% below US average. Crime, mixed. Violent crime sits slightly above national average. Property crime a bit higher, but wildly neighborhood dependent. So yeah, Huntsville's basically Silicon Valley, but with manners. But here's where Huntsville gets interesting. The city is expanding so fast that infrastructure is sprinting just to stay conscious. Traffic? Growing. Rent? Slipping upward. And surprisingly, some longtime locals complain that it's becoming too big, which is hilarious when you remember it's still Alabama, not Los Angeles. There's also a cultural tension. A tech boom city wrapped inside an old Southern identity. Most people love it, but then there's always someone upset their favorite field got replaced with a biotech lab. And what nobody tells you is, Huntsville quietly has one of the largest concentrations of engineers per capita in the US. That means your neighbor, your neighbor's kid, and probably your dog sitter all have strong opinions about orbital mechanics. Living here feels like an IQ test followed by a barbecue. You get great jobs, good pay, affordable homes, until the housing market suddenly realizes people want to live here and starts creeping up like a polite but ambitious villain. Emotionally, expect a strange mix of pride, NASA, and why are there this many meetings? Tech culture brings opportunity, but it also brings 7 a.m. emails from people who drink black coffee like it's a competition. Still, Huntsville might be the rare US city where ambition doesn't instantly bankrupt you. Okay, quick rant. Huntsville drivers. I don't know what secret academy they trained at, but the inability to merge should be studied by NASA as an alien phenomenon. How are you building rockets but can't operate a turn signal? And the weather. 1 minute sunshine, next minute lightning that sounds like God rearranging furniture. I'm just saying, if the city can launch satellites, maybe it can also teach people to use a roundabout. Be honest, could you live in a city where half the people casually talk about rocket engines? Yes or no? Number 8. Elwood, Nebraska. Elwood, Nebraska looks like someone paused life in 1973 and nobody remembered to hit play again. Quiet streets, generous skies, and a lake nearby that keeps pretending it's a tourist attraction, even though the fish are the only ones truly committed. Reputation? Peaceful, slow. The kind of place where the loudest thing all week is a screen door slamming. Population? Approximately 700 people. Fewer if you count only the ones outside during daylight. Cost of living? Approximately 20 to 25% below national average. Median rent? $700 to $900, when available, which is rare. Crime? Much lower than national average. The only thing that gets stolen is time. Job market: agriculture, small retail, manufacturing, and lake-related seasonal work. Elwood is simple, but then simplicity is the point. What nobody tells you is Elwood doesn't have a decline problem, it has a gravity problem. As in, the place is so quiet that young adults drift to bigger cities out of sheer gravitational pull. And therefore, the free land incentive existed. Not a gimmick. Actual build-ready lots near the lake, priced attractively at $0. Terms apply. Dreams not included. Surprisingly, it drew interest from folks who wanted water access without the lake life premium that usually comes with tourists, overpriced ice cream, and people who own boat shoes for the aesthetic, not the boat. The tension here is geographic. Elwood wants growth, but it doesn't want to lose what makes it Elwood. What living there actually feels like. Emotionally, living here is like being given an extra hour in your day. Peaceful mornings, real conversations, a social calendar that never jumps you in a dark alley. Financially, cheap homes, low taxes, minimal expenses, but then limited amenities. If you want a big concert, you're driving. If you want a mall, you're definitely driving. If you want late-night sushi, you're in the wrong movie. And yet, Johnson Lake is the wild card. Summer brings life, color, boats, a burst of humanity that reminds you the world still exists outside rural Nebraska. Here's my issue with lake towns. Everyone claims their lake is the best kept secret and then immediately tells you about it. Johnson Lake is beautiful, yes, but it also has this talent for changing weather every 5 minutes. Sunny, cloudy, windy, existential crisis, repeat. And don't get me started on the mosquitoes. Tiny, winged tax collectors that take 15% of your joy. Elwood's graduation class some years is small enough to fit in a minivan, not a bus, a minivan. Pause for effect. Okay, moving on. Remember earlier when we talked about quiet towns where you can hear your thoughts? Elwood lets you hear them argue, separate, reconcile, and start a podcast. And if you think Elwood's free land offer was bold, wait until you see the next town that basically tried to bribe people with scenery. Number 7. Curtis, Nebraska. Curtis, Nebraska is the kind of town where life isn't slow, it's intentional. A place where the loudest argument all week is whether the hardware store is open or open-ish. And because Curtis hosts the Nebraska College of Technical Agriculture, half the town casually knows more about livestock than most people know about their own relatives. Population: approximately 800. Median home price: approximately $145,000. Rent: usually $600 to $800. when there is something to rent. Cost of living, approximately 20% below national average. Crime, nearly non-existent. This is the kind of safe where someone losing a garden hose becomes an event. Curtis feels small until you realize it's small on purpose. What nobody tells you is Curtis spent years wrestling with a familiar rural tension. How do we get new people without becoming something we're not? The answer was unexpectedly simple. Free land. Build a house, join the community, wave at people, mandatory, and boom! Instant Curtis resident. But then the twist. A college town brings youth, energy, and turnover. You've got students arriving with dreams, leaving with diplomas, and the town left holding the emotional equivalent of a long-distance relationship. The upside? The community is insanely tight-knit. The downside? Amenities are limited. Jobs are consistent but specific, and you will recognize every car by sound alone. What it actually feels like to live here. Emotionally, Curtis is cozy in a your neighbors know your schedule better than your calendar app way. Financially, it's a dream. Cheap homes, low bills, and enough space to lose an argument in your own backyard. But then you hit the trade-offs. No big box stores, no nightlife unless you count porch lights, no anonymity. It's quiet until the ag students start hauling equipment at 6 a.m. Still, Curtis offers something cities can't buy: room to think. And land for free doesn't hurt. Here's my problem with tiny towns. Why does every single one claim to have the best parade in the state? Curtis does Easter big. I get it, but I'm convinced small towns keep having parades just to prove they have enough people to walk in them. And let's talk weather. How can it be 80 degrees and sunny at noon, then hit you with a cold front so aggressive it feels like the sky is ghosting you? It's wild that Curtis is safe enough to leave your keys in the ignition, while some cities 3 states away require a security escort just to check your mail. Remember when I said some towns are so quiet you can hear your thoughts? Curtis lets you hear your thoughts, file paperwork, and apply for residency. And if you think Curtis is charming, wait until you see the next town, the one that practically reinvented the definition of free land. Number 6. Loup City, Nebraska. What Loup City seems like at first glance. Loup City looks like one of those towns your GPS only discovers after taking a personal day. A main street frozen in time, quiet neighborhoods, and a Polish Days festival that goes way harder than anyone expects from a town of approximately 1,000 people. Median home price, approximately $160,000. Rent, unusually low, often $600 to $800. Cost of living, approximately 15 to 20% below national average. Crime, well below U.S. average. You'll lose more things to misplacing them than theft. Job market, agriculture, small manufacturing, education, and local services. On the surface, calm, safe, charming. But then, Loup City has layers. What nobody tells you is Loup City is a town with a past, a wild, fascinating one that refuses to sit still. For a small place, it's had tension, boom periods, hard resets, and that lingering sense that something interesting could happen any second, even if it usually doesn't. The city once offered inexpensive and occasionally free land incentives to spark new growth in and around downtown. Not because it's dying, Loup City isn't, but because small towns in Nebraska know the future belongs to whoever builds first. Surprisingly, it worked. Slowly, but sincerely. People showed up, they put down roots, they stayed. Then the catch. Amenities are limited, jobs can be hyper-specific, and your social life will hinge on how comfortable you are attending events themed around Polish heritage, county fairs, or whatever's happening at the community center tonight. Loup City is warm, sometimes too warm, in the sense that everyone absolutely knows who you are. Financially, it's a relief. Low rent, affordable homes, and a cost of living that won't mug you. But then, there's the scale. If you want variety, you'll drive. If you want nightlife, you'll really drive. And if you want anonymity, forget it. Loup City's idea of anonymity is not being stopped for small talk 3 times on your way to get milk. Still, the community hits different, tight-knit, authentic, the kind of place where if your car breaks down, 3 people show up before you even call roadside assistance. Let's talk about small-town festivals. Loup City's Polish Days goes incredibly hard for a town this size. I mean, I've seen cities with 200,000 people put less effort into their 4th of July than Loup City does for pierogies and polka. And Nebraska weather during festivals? Absolute chaos. Sunny in the morning, hail in the afternoon, and a sunset so dramatic it looks like the sky is trying to win an Oscar. Picture this. You're sitting on your porch as the sun drops behind the hills. You hear crickets, a distant tractor, maybe a neighbor hollering hello from half a block away. Peaceful, right? Until the wind picks up and reminds you who really runs Nebraska. It's funny. Loup City feels safe enough to leave your bike unlocked, while some big cities feel unsafe leaving your passwords unlocked. And if you think Loup City knows how to surprise you, wait until you see the next town, where the land deal came with a twist nobody expected. Number 5. Cuyuna, Minnesota. Cuyuna, Minnesota is what happens when a forgotten mining town accidentally becomes cool. A place once written off the map, where the biggest tourist attraction is abandoned pits full of shockingly blue water that look like someone left the world's prettiest mistake lying around. Population, approximately 300. Yes, 300. You've been to weddings with more people. Median home price, approximately $200,000, but varies wildly. Rent, $800 to $1,200 when something actually hits the market. Crime, very low. The raccoons probably commit more offenses than the locals. Cost of living, slightly below national average. Jobs, tourism, outdoor recreation, small business, and everything adjacent to mountain biking culture. Cuyuna looks quiet until you notice the constant stream of people wearing bike helmets like they're part of the local uniform. Here's the twist. Cuyuna used to offer free or near-free land because the town was emptying out. When the mines died, everything died with them. Business, population, momentum. But then something absurd happened. Mountain bikers showed up. They looked at the old pits and said, hey, these abandoned craters would make incredible trails. And somehow, they were right. Cuyuna flipped from near ghost town to top-tier biking destination, pulling in visitors, money, and new residents. Surprisingly, the land deals stopped because the town no longer had to beg people to move in. They came willingly. The issue now is balance. Tourism drives the economy, but also drives up housing prices, strains local services, and occasionally fills the town with people who say things like, is there anywhere artisanal to eat? Emotionally, Cuyuna gives you peace, lake views that look AI-generated, trails right out your back door, and a community that rebuilt itself instead of quitting. Financially, low-ish bills, manageable taxes, a cost of living that's fair. But then, scarcity. Housing availability? Thin. Grocery options? Limited. Employment? Great if you love recreation. Less great if you want corporate advancement. Still, Cuyuna is one of the few small towns that feels like it's rising, not surviving. Let me just say, bikers are wonderful people, but they turn into a different species on the trail. I saw a guy in Cuyuna with gear so advanced he looked like he was preparing to bike on Mars. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying not to die on a beginner slope, and the parking lots? Full at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. What are you all doing? Go back to bed. Picture yourself waking up in Cuyuna. Crisp air, pine smell, the sound of tires rolling over gravel, and a lake glowing blue like it's auditioning for a wallpaper company. It's peaceful until someone flies past your house doing 40 miles per hour on a mountain bike. It's funny. Cuyuna feels safe enough to leave your doors unlocked, while some big cities feel unsafe leaving your search history unlocked. Would you live in a tiny town if it meant having world-class trails in your backyard? Yes or no? Number 4. Beatrice, Nebraska. Beatrice, Nebraska is the kind of place that feels like American history forgot to leave. A quiet town layered with stories, slow mornings, and the slightly suspicious calm you only get when people still trust their neighbors. Population, approximately 12,000. Median rent, approximately $900 to $1,050. Median home price, around $160,000 to $180,000. Cost of living, nearly 20% below national average. Crime, below national averages. Not leave your wallet on a picnic table safe, but close. Workforce, agriculture, healthcare, manufacturing, education. Beatrice feels grounded, almost cinematic, like the establishing shot of a movie where the plot hasn't started yet. Now here's the fun twist. Beatrice wasn't just inspired by the Homestead Act, it was literally built on the first homestead in America. So when the town needed a boost, what did they do? They brought it back. An actual modern-day homestead program. Free lots if you built a home within a year. Straightforward contract, small-town practicality, zero MLM vibes. But then the reality. Housing demand rose. Construction expectations put pressure on newcomers. Locals quietly wondered if growth would change the town's DNA. And surprisingly, the program worked anyway. Beatrice isn't struggling, it's adapting. Deliberately, slowly, like a town that prefers growth at walking speed. Beatrice is grounding. a place where people nod at you in the supermarket simply because you exist. Financially, it's a bargain. Low rent, cheap utilities, modest taxes. But then, amenities are limited. Younger folks sometimes leave for bigger cities. Job growth is steady, not explosive. And yes, everyone absolutely knows which car belongs to which neighbor. Still, Beatrice has a rare advantage. It's a small town with big history and just enough opportunity to stay interesting. Okay, look, Beatrice is lovely, but can we talk about the weather? Why does Nebraska insist on having 4 seasons in one day? I stepped outside once and got sun, wind, rain, and a moral dilemma within 10 minutes. And don't get me started on Nebraska nice. Half the people will wave at you even if they've never seen you before. I'm not used to this level of friendliness. My social skills need a patch update. Imagine waking up in Beatrice. Slow sunrise, quiet streets, the hum of distant farm equipment, and that crisp Midwest air that smells like a reset button. You grab coffee, walk down a block where every house looks like it came with a story, and the stats suddenly make sense. Low crime, low costs, low stress. It's the kind of peace you don't notice until it's gone. And if you think Beatrice is mellow, the next town on this list practically reinvented the phrase, free land, questionable expectations. Number 3. Mound City, Kansas. Mound City is small-town Kansas, distilled down to its purest form. Quiet mornings, long shadows, and the kind of stillness that makes you wonder if the whole town took a collective nap. Population? Approximately 900. Median home price? Approximately $150,000. Typical rent? $700 to $900. Cost of living? Approximately 15 to 20% below national average. Crime rate? Low. Like, leave your car running while grabbing a soda, low. Job market, agriculture, county services, small manufacturing, and local trades. From the outside, it's peaceful, predictable, safe. But then you hit the plot twist. Mound City literally sold lots for $1 and occasionally offered free lots just to spark growth. Here's where the story shifts. Mound City didn't do the $1 deal because it was struggling. It did it because it wanted momentum, and momentum in a rural town is like capturing lightning in a mason jar. What nobody tells you is, new construction stalled. Housing stock aged faster than demand. Younger residents drifted away for bigger cities, and newcomers didn't realize that cheap land still requires immediate building, permits, and the patience of a saint. But surprisingly, the program still attracted families tired of urban noise and tired of urban pricing. It worked, just not at blockbuster speed. Mound City is a slow burn, not a spark. Mound City is grounding. People wave, neighbors talk. You're seen, sometimes more than you want to be. Financially, it's practical. Cheap utilities, modest property taxes, houses so affordable you might judge your old landlord for sport. But then you notice the downsides. Limited shopping, limited entertainment, highly limited nightlife. Unless your ideal Friday night is sitting on your porch listening to the same truck drive by twice. Still, the trade-off is tempting. Safety, space, quiet, and the bragging rights of saying, yeah, my land costs less than a vending machine soda. Okay. Can we talk about Kansas weather again? Mound City is one of those places where the sky will suddenly decide to test your commitment to life. Sunny at noon, mild at 2, hail at 3, and tornado watch at 4 because the clouds got bored. Also, every rural town claims their cafe has the best pie in the state. And honestly, at this point, I think Kansas is 70% pie marketing. Picture this. You wake up in Mound City, dew on the grass, bird song, zero noise pollution. You step outside with coffee and the world feels easy, not exciting, not overwhelming, just easy. And sometimes, stats don't measure that. Mound City feels safe enough to leave your house unlocked, while some cities feel unsafe leaving your sent emails unlocked. Number 2. Lincoln, Kansas. Lincoln, Kansas is the kind of place that feels like someone pressed pause on the world and forgot to unpause it. Quiet streets, stone buildings, sunsets that make you rethink your life choices. It's all extremely wholesome in a way that almost feels suspicious. Population, approximately 1,200. Median home price, approximately $100,000 to $120,000. Rent, $650 to $850, depending on which landlord has been thinking about updating the carpets since 1998. Cost of living, around 25% below national average. Crime, low. Like, your neighbor returns your trash can for you, low. Job market, agriculture, small retail, education, healthcare, and anything that can be done with two hands and a stubborn attitude. On paper, simple, affordable, unhurried. But then comes the hook. Lincoln gave away land. Like, actually free land. Lincoln launched one of the most famous modern homestead-style programs in the country. Free residential lots to anyone willing to build. It sounded brilliant, even noble, but nobody tells you about the fine print. You must build within a certain time frame. Contractors are limited. Supplies are expensive in rural Kansas. And winter construction delays? Oh yes, they happen. Surprisingly though, the program worked better than anyone expected. New homes, new families, and a slow but steady revival of a town that could have faded out like a forgotten highway sign. The hidden tension? Lincoln desperately wants growth, but not growth so fast it breaks the town's rhythm. Expansion, but with boundaries. Like giving your kid the Wi-Fi password, but only after they finish their chores. Emotionally, Lincoln is grounding, peaceful, predictable, almost meditative. Financially, it's a dream for anyone escaping big city inflation. You can literally own land for less than the price of an Apple Watch. But then, the small town trade-offs hit. Limited restaurants, limited nightlife, limited shopping unless you consider driving 40 minutes a hobby. Still, if you want a quiet life, low crime, and neighbors who will help you shovel your driveway before you wake up, Lincoln delivers. Without the chaos or the price tag. Kansas weather again. I don't know what deal this state made with the atmosphere, but Lincoln will give you wind so aggressive it feels personal. I've had conversations that were less confrontational than a Kansas gust. And why does every cafe serve coffee that tastes like it was brewed inside a tractor? I respect the aesthetic, but come on, give me something that doesn't taste like diesel fumes and nostalgia. Remember earlier when I said some towns feel like someone hit pause? Yeah, Lincoln feels like they hit pause, then taped the button down. Lincoln County is one of the lowest population counties in Kansas, but the sunsets? Top tier. I'm not saying move for the skies, but I'm also not saying that. And if you think Lincoln mastered the art of quiet living, wait till you see the next town, where the free land pitch turned into an entirely different kind of experiment. Number 1. Marquette, Kansas. Marquette, Kansas feels like someone took small-town America, handcrafted it out of limestone, and then quietly forgot to tell the rest of the world it still exists. Quiet streets, big sky, zero chaos. A place where the loudest thing is probably your own thoughts. Population, approximately 650. Median home price, approximately $105,000 to $135,000. Rent, $650 to $900. Depending on how much the landlord trusts you. Cost of living, 25 to 30% below US average. Crime, low, like you only lock the door because your relatives told you to, low. Jobs, manufacturing, small retail, agriculture, local trade, and whatever you can run out of your garage without annoying your neighbors too much. On the surface, charming, affordable, slow-paced, but beneath that calm, one of the boldest small-town initiatives in America, a free land program that actually worked. Marquette offered multiple residential lots for free, literal free, not $1, not plus fees, just free. But the catch, because of course there's a catch, you had to build within a year. Construction in rural Kansas? Not fast. Local contractors? Booked. Winters? Unhelpful. And the infrastructure needed some love. Still, people came. Families, remote workers, retirees, people tired of big city burnout, and landlords who think market rate is a personality. The town didn't explode. It evolved, slowly, intentionally, like a community that understands growth should feel organic, not like a Black Friday rush. Marquette is the kind of town that resets your nervous system. Quiet mornings, neighbors who wave with their whole arm, the sense that time actually exists here, not just deadlines. Financially, a win. Housing is cheap, groceries reasonable, utilities modest, and your blood pressure drops just from the lack of traffic. But then, reality kicks in. Limited dining, limited entertainment, limited shopping unless you think hardware store aisle 3 counts as recreation. Still, the peace is real, and so is the community. Marquette has weather that feels like it's playing pranks. One day it's so windy your trash can ends up in a neighboring zip code. The next day, perfect. Sunlight, birds, serenity. Kansas is basically Mother Nature auditioning for multiple roles and refusing to pick one. And don't even get me started on the drivers who act like turn signals are an optional DLC. Picture yourself stepping out onto your porch in Marquette. Early morning, pale sunlight, crisp air that smells like wheat, dust, and a quiet promise. You hear a screen door creak, a dog bark somewhere down the block, and the whole world feels slower, safer, cheaper. And suddenly those stats about low crime and low cost of living stop being numbers and start being peace. If you're enjoying this video, congratulations! You're officially more prepared for America's housing market than 90% of people. Subscribe now unless you enjoy finding out about Freeland towns 3 years too late.